So we were talking about this one verse here, how to deal with difficulties in a time of degeneration. So the oral tradition coming from the master Atisha easily transforms these difficult situations into causes generating progress within fortunate trainees. So I talked the last couple of days a little bit about assuming responsibility for our unhappiness by recognizing that we created the actions that brought about the situation, either karmically, actions done in a previous life, or actions done in this life that, brought about the situation that we're experiencing. And so therefore, no sense blaming anybody else or complaining. Although it's kind of fun to complain, isn't it? Boy, you mean you have to give up a good bellyache where you think you're the center of the universe and want everybody to feel sorry for you? What renunciation entails, huh? Okay, so another technique for dealing with difficult situations is by generating compassion, not only for ourselves, but for other people who have the same predicament that we do. Okay, so this is the opposite of feeling sorry for ourselves. Feeling sorry for ourselves is not having compassion for ourselves. Okay, pity and compassion are two very different things. Okay, in fact, self-pity is more self-indulgence rather than self-compassion. Okay, self-compassion simply wants ourselves to be happy and is willing to act in ways to bring about our own happiness, whereas self-pity wants. I don't know how much we really want our own happiness when we feel sorry for ourselves. Ostensibly we do, but we want it to be other people's responsibility to make us happy. Okay, which of course never works in life. So with compassion, we're really taking responsibility ourselves, creating the causes that we need to create in order to be happy. And one of the meditations that Atisha, who's mentioned in this verse, really emphasized a lot was the taking and giving meditation as a way to deal with difficulties. So it's the opposite of self-pity, yeah. In the taking and giving meditation, we imagine taking on the misery and unhappiness of others and giving them our happiness. So you see, it's totally the opposite. Yeah. Usually we want people to sacrifice their happiness and give it to us and take away our suffering. But here we're developing a very strong mind that can bear suffering, not only our own, but also others as well, and giving our own happiness away to others. Okay, so when we do this meditation, there's many different ways you can do it, but you start sometimes with yourself or sometimes with somebody you care about, and think of the misery that person is going through, yeah, or will go through. Like if we do it for ourselves, we think of ourselves in old age and the kind of suffering we're likely to encounter, and then we think, may I take that suffering away from the person I'm going to be in old age, and may I give that person my happiness. Okay, if we do it for somebody else, then we think, may I take on the suffering that person's experiencing or that group of people is experiencing, and may I give them my happiness. Okay, so when we do this, first of all, we have to have a mind that's strong enough to bear our own suffering, okay, and to realize that suffering is not going to destroy us. It's simply a product of causes. It is not permanent. It doesn't last forever. The situation changes. And to also see that if we think properly about it, suffering can bring us a lot of understanding and wisdom that we wouldn't gain in other ways. Yeah. So, for example, suffering can help us see the faults of cyclic existence and develop our determination to be free from it. Suffering can make us more humble and demolish our arrogance. You know, like the arrogance of being young and attractive and on top of the world, and then you get sick and it's like, you know, that's all down the drain. It makes us a bit more humble, and that humility opens us up to feeling compassion for other people who are suffering in the same way. Because very often when things are going well in our life, we don't have so much compassion. We just say, oh, people are suffering, it's their own fault, why don't they just get their lives together, just stop complaining and stop bugging me, I don't want to hear about it, okay? Whereas when we're suffering, then we really can open our heart with more compassion to the suffering of other living beings, okay? And opening our heart to others' suffering does not mean that we become Mrs. or Mr. Fix-It. Okay, compassion doesn't mean that, okay, I'm so compassionate, I am going to fix all your problems, and all you have to do is listen to my advice and do what I want, you know, because that's not compassion. That's having an agenda that can often lead to manipulating people, which certainly is not very compassionate. And it's also quite conceited, isn't it, to think that we have the solution for everybody's problems. And if just these stupid people would follow my advice, you know, then they wouldn't have so many problems. We think that, don't we? Yeah? People are so stupid. I mean, I know what's better for them. Why don't they just do it? Yeah, and so we get quite arrogant. So this is, you know, when we have our own suffering, this really gets shed, yeah, because we get in tune with, you know, what it's like to be miserable, yeah. Okay, so when we think of taking on others' suffering and then giving them our happiness, we do it with a lot of understanding and with a strong mind that feels, you know, okay, I can bear some discomfort. I'm not going to crumble under its weight. Yeah. And in giving others our happiness, the mind thinks, you know, I don't need to always cling on to everything good for myself, because anyway, these things that I cling on to are transitory. They don't bring lasting pleasure. I create so much negative energy trying to get them that it's better that I give them away and, you know, use what is beneficial to help other people. Okay, so this is called the taking and giving meditation. Sometimes people are a little bit hesitant to do it, kind of like, well, if I think that I'm going to take on others' suffering, then maybe I will, you know, and I'm fine to imagine it, but I don't really want their suffering. So if that kind of thought comes in your mind, that is showing us very clearly what the self-centered thought is. It's really highlighting the self-centered thought. Yeah. And so then we need to go back into the earlier steps of the bodhicitta meditations and develop equanimity and equalize and exchange self and others, see the fault of self-centeredness, develop more compassion, and so on. Okay. Lots of times people who are brand new learn this meditation and they say, oh, I really like this meditation, you know, and it helps me so much, and I'm really glad it helps them. Yeah. But I often think, oh my goodness, you know, when I do this meditation, it really you know, it's not so comfortable, yeah, to really think of taking on somebody else's suffering and experiencing that unfortunate situation, you know? It really brings up for me, you know, well, very clearly my own self-centeredness. So I say that's a good thing, then I can see it more clearly and apply the antidote and really see the faults of that self-centeredness. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about the meditation, but I think this is enough for today.